The chilling whispers of the engineer echoed through intelligence agencies worldwide, a phantom menace whose brilliance in bomb-making translated directly into unimaginable suffering. He was Hamas's chief architect of terror, a spectral figure responsible for countless casualties, his work leaving indelible scars across the landscape and etched into the souls of survivors. His name, never officially confirmed, became a byword for elusive, destructive genius. For years, he operated in a realm of deep secrecy, a master of counterintelligence, his methods evolving faster than any defense. Mossad, Israel's vaunted intelligence agency, had launched multiple attempts to locate and neutralize him. Each mission, meticulously planned, had ended in frustrating failure. The elusive bomb-maker always a step ahead, vanishing like smoke. The pressure on Mossad mounted relentlessly, a heavy burden from a public scarred by the engineer's attacks, and a political leadership demanding results. The body count grew, and with it, the agency's reputation teetered on the brink. Doubts began to surface. Was the engineer truly untouchable? Into this maelstrom stepped Agent Ari Ben David, an elite Mossad operative whose gaze held a simmering intensity, born of personal tragedy. Ari had lost his younger sister in a bus bombing 5 years prior, an attack later attributed to the engineer's designs. His motivation transcended mere duty. It was a burning desire for justice, a raw, unyielding quest for retribution that fueled his every waking moment. He carried the weight of his personal loss like a cloak, a constant reminder of the monster he pursued. The overwhelming challenge of tracking the engineer seemed insurmountable. He communicated through a labyrinth of encrypted channels, never staying in one place, never using the same device for long. His digital footprint was a ghostly shimmer, barely perceptible to even the most advanced surveillance. Yet Ari refused to concede defeat. He believed there was always a way, a chink in the armor of even the most paranoid adversary. Then a radical, high-risk strategy emerged from the depths of a late-night brainstorming session. It was audacious, unconventional, and fraught with peril. The proposal involved a level of technological infiltration previously deemed unthinkable. Initial skepticism rippled through Mossad leadership. The risks were immense. Failure would not only mean more innocent lives lost, but would shatter the agency's already strained credibility. But Ari's conviction was unwavering. He argued with a quiet intensity, his eyes burning with an almost messianic certainty that this was the only viable path. He saw a faint, almost invisible digital clue, a subtle pattern in the noise that others had dismissed. It was a tantalizing thread, barely there, but enough for Ari to grasp onto. Reluctantly, after heated debates and countless simulations, the leadership granted approval for the experimental operation. The weight of the mission settled upon Ari's shoulders, a crushing burden of responsibility for countless potential lives. The critical decision was made, to target the engineer not through traditional means, but via his most trusted communication device, his cell phone. The chosen method involved a unique, unprecedented exploitation of a mobile phone's capabilities, turning it into a silent, lethal weapon. The ethical dilemma was stark. The potential for collateral damage, the moral tightrope they would walk, was a topic of intense, often agonizing discussion. Yet, the alternative, allowing the engineer to continue his reign of terror, was deemed far worse. A small, highly specialized unit was assembled, a clandestine team of tech experts, linguists, and field operatives, all bound by a shared understanding of the mission's gravity. Their initial reconnaissance focused on gathering every conceivable piece of intelligence on the engineer's communication patterns. The task seemed impossible: how to implant an exploit remotely, undetected, into the device of a man whose paranoia was legendary, who constantly switched phones and locations. Ari, battling his personal demons, flashbacks of past failures, the faces of victims, drew strength from his resolve. Then, a small victory, a glimmer of hope. They identified a potential vulnerability in a widely used communication network, a tiny crack in the digital fortress. The plan began to take shape, a detailed step-by-step approach. The crucial element Ari realized was not just technology, but exploiting human behavior, the subtle habits that even the most careful operative could not entirely shed. They meticulously observed the engineer's daily routines, his communication methods, searching for the perfect opening. In the pressure cooker environment of the operations room, every decision carried immense risk. Finally, the mission was greenlit. The clock started ticking. The engineer remained blissfully unaware of the silent threat tightening around him, a digital noose woven from his own habits. A critical observation solidified their approach. Despite his constant device changes, he consistently favored the same brand of smartphone, albeit different models. This seemingly minor detail would prove to be his undoing. The team, a mosaic of digital architects and linguistic analysts, plunged into the labyrinthine depths of the engineer's digital life. Their mission was to dissect his communication patterns, meticulously charting who he spoke with, the frequency of these exchanges, and the various platforms he employed. His security measures were formidable, a testament to his intelligence and paranoia. Robust encryption shielded every message, every call, presenting a formidable wall that demanded an equally sophisticated bypass. The development of the exploit became their singular focus, a custom-made piece of malware, a digital ghost designed solely for infiltration. The relentless search for a zero-day vulnerability consumed their days and nights, a painstaking hunt for undiscovered flaws within commonly used software. The ethical debate simmered beneath the surface, a quiet but persistent undercurrent within the team. The invasiveness of their methods, the complete dismantling of a man's digital privacy, weighed heavily on some. Yet Ari's conviction remained unyielding. For him, the horrifying end goal of the engineer's actions justified their extreme means. The breakthrough, when it finally arrived, was both exhilarating and terrifying. A previously unknown vulnerability nestled deep within a popular, seemingly benign messaging application. With the vulnerability identified, the next challenge was the delivery of the payload. The plan coalesced around a seemingly innocuous message, a digital Trojan horse. But how to ensure the engineer, a man steeped in suspicion, would open it? The human element, always the weakest link, became their strongest weapon. They began profiling his associates, searching for a trusted contact, an unwitting conduit who could deliver the message without raising suspicion. Their choice fell upon a low-level operative within the engineer's vast network, a minor player oblivious to the true deadly nature of the message he would soon transmit. The waiting game began, an agonizing period where hours stretched into days. They tracked the intermediary's movements with unwavering precision, every shift in his routine meticulously noted. The engineer's own unpredictable movements, his constant changes in location, demanded continuous adjustments to their meticulously crafted plan. A close call sent a jolt of fear through the operations room. The intermediary almost missed his window of opportunity, nearly diverting from his usual path. But fate, or perhaps careful planning, intervened. The moment of truth arrived. The message, disguised as routine communication, was sent. The air in the control room grew thick with anticipation. A collective breath held. Had he opened it? Had the exploit activated? The agonizing wait for confirmation stretched on. Then, a subtle shift. A barely perceptible tremor in the network traffic originating from the engineer's phone signaled their first tentative success. A wave of relief washed over the team, quickly replaced by renewed tension. The deeper infiltration had begun. They now had access to his call logs, his messages, his location data, a torrent of intelligence that began to paint a chilling picture. The engineer, sensing an indefinable unease, increased his paranoia, attempting to cleanse his devices, unknowingly aiding Mossad by forcing the data to surface. The data stream became a digital roadmap, revealing his intricate network and, most critically, his immediate plans. The horrifying truth emerged. The engineer was targeting a highly populated civilian area. Urgency escalated, a palpable pressure in the cramped operations room. Time was now their most critical adversary. The data revealed the precise location of his bomb-making facility. A difficult choice loomed: act immediately, risking an incomplete picture, or gather more intelligence, potentially losing precious time. Ari grappled with his internal conflict, the burning desire for swift justice warring with the cold, calculated need for precision. The detailed map of the facility, a digital blueprint, solidified their resolve. The final confirmation arrived. The engineer was directly involved in the planning of the impending attack, his callous disregard for human life laid bare. The unseen net, woven from digital threads, was tightening around him, and he remained utterly unaware. Mossad's analysts meticulously dissected the deluge of data streaming from the engineer's phone, transforming raw bytes into actionable intelligence. The bomb-making facility, once an elusive ghost, now stood exposed in vivid detail. They identified key personnel, noting their roles and movements, and meticulously cataloged the facility's security measures, from guard rotations to entry points. Crucially, the engineer's routine within the compound became horrifyingly clear. His arrival and departure times, his preferred paths, even his habitual coffee breaks. The decision solidified. The very device that had betrayed him would become his ultimate tracker, a digital leash for the final, decisive strike. The ethical dilemma, a constant nagging undercurrent, resurfaced. Using technology for targeted killing was a heavy burden, a moral tightrope walk. Yet for Ari, the protagonist, his resolve remained unwavering. This was not about vengeance alone. It was about preventing mass casualties, about silencing a threat that valued destruction above all else. The lives of countless innocents hinged on their actions. The planning for the physical operation commenced, a complex tapestry woven from technological prowess and boots-on-the-ground execution. A specialized field team was assembled, their training honed for covert operations and precision strikes. The phone itself became their eyes and ears, its camera and microphone providing real-time, detailed surveillance of the engineer's interactions inside the facility. They witnessed his chilling apathy, his casual discussions of death and destruction, a callous disregard for human life that fueled the team's collective anger and hardened their determination. Simultaneously, the development of a kill switch for the phone became paramount. This remote deactivation mechanism would ensure the device could not be reverse-engineered or used as a counterintelligence tool after the operation. The strategic objective was to isolate the engineer from his bodyguards, to catch him in a moment of vulnerability. The chosen location for the strike was a secluded area along his regular route, a point where his convoy typically slowed, where the surrounding environment offered both cover for the operatives and minimal risk to civilians. The timing of the operation was meticulously coordinated to coincide with his most exposed moment. A plausible cover story for the field team's presence in the area was meticulously crafted, ensuring their movements would appear innocuous to local observers. The final briefing was a symphony of precision, every detail, every contingency meticulously planned and rehearsed. Ari's final instructions were stark, no room for error. Under the cloak of darkness, the field team deployed, moving like shadows into their pre-assigned positions. An electric anticipation hummed in the operations room, the calm before the storm. Unaware, the engineer continued his final preparations for the upcoming attack, his overconfidence a thick shroud around him, blinding him to the unseen net that had tightened around his existence. He believed himself untouchable, his security impenetrable. His phone, a silent traitor, continued its constant stream of data, a digital leash around his neck, broadcasting his every move. Ari, with a knot of tension in his stomach, performed a last-minute check, ensuring all systems displayed green, every channel secure. The field team's final readiness report crackled through the comms. Then came the signal to proceed, a single, definitive command that echoed the weight of their mission. The trap was fully sprung, the engineer oblivious to his impending doom. The clock began its inexorable countdown to the moment of confrontation. His last known communication, intercepted just hours before, was a chilling message to his superiors, detailing the final stages of his next horrific attack. The pieces were all in place, the stage set for an inevitable, violent end. The engineer departed his heavily guarded compound, a fortress of concrete and paranoia, entirely oblivious to the digital tail that clung to his every move. His convoy, a procession of dark armored vehicles, snaked through the labyrinthine streets, each turn meticulously tracked by the Mossad field team. From the sterile confines of the operations center, Ari watched the glowing dot on the screen, his gaze fixed, his breath held. The tension in the room was a palpable force, thick and suffocating as the convoy navigated the crowded arteries of the city. Every pedestrian, every street vendor, every passing vehicle became a potential hazard, a variable that could derail the meticulously crafted plan. Suddenly, an unexpected detour. The engineer, ever the creature of habit, yet prone to unpredictable movements, diverged from his usual route. A collective gasp rippled through the operations center. The field team, seasoned professionals, reacted with instantaneous precision, their vehicles fluidly adjusting, maintaining perfect stealth amidst the urban chaos. Ari's voice, calm and steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins, issued real-time commands, guiding his operatives through the shifting landscape. The fear of losing the target, of seeing that glowing dot vanish amidst the dense sprawl of the city, was a cold dread that touched every member of the team. A close call. The convoy unexpectedly signaled a turn down a narrow alleyway, a path that would have taken them far from the planned ambush zone. For a heart-stopping moment, panic threatened to erupt. But then the phone signal, unwavering and precise, confirmed their original trajectory. It was a feint, a last-minute check by the engineer who, despite his digital blindness, possessed a deep-seated paranoia. He scanned his surroundings, his eyes darting, searching for unseen threats, but his gaze found nothing. The Mossad field team, masters of camouflage, maintained their perfect stealth, blending seamlessly into the environment, their presence utterly undetectable. The chosen ambush point awaited, a stretch of narrow, less-trafficked road just beyond the city limits, flanked by overgrown foliage and abandoned structures. It was a place where the engineer's convoy would naturally slow, a bottleneck designed for maximum tactical advantage. The field operatives, having arrived ahead of the convoy, strategically placed themselves, their positions offering clear lines of sight and escape routes. In the operations center, Ari grappled with the profound weight of his decision. The mission was clear, the objective vital, yet the act itself remained a stark, irreversible step. The faces of past victims, innocent lives extinguished by the engineer's bombs, flashed through his mind, fueling his resolve, hardening his will. This was not about vengeance, he reminded himself, but about preventing future atrocities. The convoy approached the ambush zone, a dark serpent winding towards its fate. The field team, their breaths shallow, their muscles taut, prepared for the critical moment. The silence in the operations center was deafening, punctuated only by the low hum of equipment and the occasional hushed command. Just then, the engineer received a call on his phone. His head tilted, his attention momentarily diverted. It was a critical piece of timing, a stroke of grim fortune. His focus, usually razor-sharp, was now fractured. The field team, seeing their window, transmitted their signal. They were in position. Ari, his jaw clenched, gave the final go-ahead. But then an unexpected twist, a sudden, unforeseen obstacle materialized. A civilian vehicle, seemingly out of nowhere, briefly obstructed the field of fire. A small white car driven by an unwitting local. The split-second decision was agonizing: abort the mission, potentially losing their only chance, or proceed with increased unacceptable risk to innocent lives. Ari's gut feeling, honed by years of impossible choices, screamed that this was their only opportunity. Aborting was not an option. The field team, displaying incredible quick thinking, adjusted their aim with fractions of a second to spare. The convoy, oblivious to the near catastrophe, entered the kill zone. The engineer's phone vibrated in his hand. A new message, an innocuous communication, just as planned. He glanced at the screen. His final act of distraction, his fate sealed by the very technology he believed he controlled. The moment of impact was swift, brutal, and meticulously executed. As the engineer peered at his phone, a fleeting second of distraction, the Mossad field team unleashed their coordinated strike. The convoy, caught completely off guard, disintegrated into chaos. Tires shrieked, metal screeched, and the air filled with the sharp crack of suppressed automatic fire. The engineer's bodyguards, though numerous and well-trained, were quickly overwhelmed by the precision and ferocity of the assault. They had been prepared for a frontal engagement, not an ambush from multiple unseen angles. In the operations center, Ari watched the live feed with a chilling detachment. his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. The grainy images flickered across the screen, a ballet of controlled violence. Each movement, each target acquisition, was a testament to the rigorous training and unwavering discipline of his team. Then came the confirmation, a terse, coded message from the field, package secured, target neutralized. The engineer was among the casualties. His reign of terror brought to an abrupt and violent end. The immediate aftermath was a whirlwind of activity. The priority was securing the scene, ensuring no evidence was left behind, no trace of Mossad's involvement. But the critical objective, the very heart of the mission's intelligence value, was the recovery of the engineer's phone and its invaluable data. As the field team moved to collect the device, an unexpected pocket of resistance flared. Surviving elements of the engineer's security detail, driven by a desperate loyalty or sheer survival instinct, launched a desperate counterattack. A brief, intense firefight erupted, turning the precise operation into a desperate scramble. Ari's fear, a cold knot in his stomach, resurfaced. The operation, so meticulously planned, could still go sideways. Lives hung in the balance, and the mission's success teetered on the brink. But the field team, seasoned veterans of countless shadow wars, handled the situation with ruthless efficiency. Their training kicked in, instincts honed by years of combat taking over. The resistance was swiftly, brutally quashed. With the immediate threat eliminated, the team secured the engineer's body and, more importantly, retrieved the shattered remains of his mobile phone. The extraction plan, rehearsed countless times, was initiated. A swift and clean departure from the scene, leaving behind only the wreckage and the chilling silence of a mission accomplished. A wave of relief, profound and almost dizzying, washed over the operations center. The collective exhalation was audible, a shared release of tension that had coiled tight for weeks. But the relief was short-lived, quickly replaced by a stark, sobering realization. Hamas would not let this stand. They would retaliate, and they would be seeking revenge. The elimination of the engineer, while a significant victory, was not the end of the conflict. It was merely a new phase. Ari felt a grim satisfaction, a sense of justice served, but the cost, he knew, was immense. The immediate analysis of the recovered phone began, a desperate race against time to uncover new intelligence. His network, his future plans, his contacts. The data streamed in, confirming his identity beyond any doubt. It was indeed the engineer. The political fallout, as anticipated, was immediate and global. International condemnation from some quarters mingled with quiet praise from others. Mossad's internal debriefing was a complex affair, celebrating the undeniable success while meticulously analyzing every risk, every near miss. Ari, however, found no celebration in his heart. He sat in quiet reflection, the personal toll of the mission weighing heavily upon him. The silence in the operations room, now devoid of the frantic urgency, was a stark contrast to the earlier tension, yet it felt heavy, laden with unspoken burdens. He understood, with a chilling clarity, that the war was far from over. Then, a hidden message, expertly concealed within the phone's data, was unearthed. A chilling promise of future attacks, a defiant last gasp from the engineer, ensuring his legacy of terror would continue. The team understood then, with a profound sense of weariness, that this was just one battle in a larger, unending war. Hamas's reaction to the engineer's death was a furious, visceral roar that echoed across the region. Public vows of revenge became a constant, unsettling drumbeat, escalating already simmering tensions to a fever pitch. Mossad, knowing this was inevitable, immediately braced for retaliation, heightening security alerts across all its assets and personnel. Ari experienced a fleeting, almost imperceptible moment of relief, a brief exhalation after years of relentless pursuit. Yet it was swiftly overshadowed by the ominous shadow of new threats, the specter of what was to come. The team, relentless in their pursuit of intelligence, continued to meticulously analyze the vast trove of data extracted from the engineer's phone. Each decrypted file, every recovered message, peeled back another layer of the terrorist organization's intricate web, uncovering new plots, new targets, and new operatives. Amidst this digital excavation, a new, charismatic leader began to emerge within Hamas, a figure who quickly stepped into the vacuum left by the engineer. He was younger, perhaps even more radical, and his every public statement was laced with defiant vows to avenge the engineer's demise, transforming the fallen bomb maker into a martyr. The psychological warfare began almost immediately. Hamas's propaganda machine worked overtime, glorifying the engineer, portraying him as a hero sacrificed for the cause, a narrative designed to inflame passions and recruit new followers. In response, Mossad's counterintelligence efforts intensified, a desperate race to identify and neutralize this burgeoning new threat before he could fully consolidate power. Ari felt the immense weight of his actions. He had stopped one monstrous threat, yes, but in doing so, had he inadvertently created an even more dangerous one? The question gnawed at him, a constant, unsettling companion. The personal cost of his relentless dedication was becoming increasingly apparent. Sleepless nights plagued him, his mind a battlefield where the faces of the engineer's victims mingled with the chilling, lifeless visage of the man himself. He saw their suffering, their terror, and the grim satisfaction of justice was often consumed by the haunting echoes of the violence he had orchestrated. His family, sensing his growing distance and the heavy burden he carried, expressed their increasing concern for his well-being, their worried glances a silent plea for him to return to them, to the world outside his grim profession. The new Hamas leader, not content with mere rhetoric, soon launched his first act, a brutal, symbolic attack designed to send a clear message. It was a stark reminder of the ever-present danger, a cold, hard repudiation of any hope for peace. Ari felt a renewed sense of urgency, intertwined with a profound, gnawing guilt. The pressure on Mossad to prevent further attacks became suffocating, leading to internal debates within the agency. Was the operation, as successful as it was, truly worth the increased risk, the inevitable escalation? Ari, however, remained unwavering in his belief. He knew, with an absolute certainty that transcended doubt, that it was necessary to save lives, to prevent far greater atrocities. The new leader, unlike his predecessor, proved to be cunning, learning from the engineer's fatal mistakes. He employed new methods, adopted more sophisticated counter-surveillance, making him harder to track, harder to predict. Mossad faced a new challenge, forced to adapt to a different kind of enemy, one who moved with greater stealth and less predictability. Ari's growing isolation deepened. Burdened by the unspeakable secrets of his work, the moral compromises, the lives taken, he found himself increasingly alone. Then, a cryptic message was intercepted, a direct, unmistakable threat against him, the protagonist of this dark drama. Ari's blood ran cold. The realization crashed over him. He had become a target. The personal stakes, already impossibly high, escalated dramatically. The new leader's obsession was clear: to personally eliminate the one responsible for the engineer's death, to exact a personal vengeance that transcended mere organizational goals. But instead of fear, Ari's resolve hardened. He would not be deterred, not by threats, not by personal risk. The silent cat-and-mouse game began again, but this time it was profoundly personal. The line between duty and personal vendetta blurred, pushing Ari into an even darker, more dangerous corner of his existence. The protagonist's life, once meticulously compartmentalized, began its inevitable unraveling. The delicate balance he had maintained between his perilous profession and his personal existence now fractured under the relentless pressure. His relationship with his family, once a sanctuary, strained under the weight of his constant secrecy and the ever-present, unspoken danger that clung to him like a shroud. His wife, her eyes etched with worry, no longer just questioned his late nights or distant stares. She voiced her profound fear, a raw, undeniable concern for his safety that pierced through his carefully constructed defenses. He found himself grappling with the profound moral implications of his job, the stark reality of the lives he had taken, the direct consequence of his decisions. Flashbacks, once fleeting and manageable, now assaulted him with vivid intensity. The moments leading up to the strike, the explosive chaos, and most hauntingly, the lifeless, wide-eyed face of the engineer. Each memory was a chisel, carving deeper into his already fractured psyche. The new Hamas leader, a master of psychological warfare, seemed to sense this burgeoning vulnerability. Subtle, insidious threats against his family began to surface, not overt declarations, but whispers carried on the wind, implications woven into intercepted communications, making him question everything. Was his sacrifice truly protecting them, or was it merely dragging them deeper into his dangerous world? The weight of these moral compromises became almost unbearable, threatening to crush his resolve. A trusted colleague, observant and empathetic, noticed the subtle shifts in Ari, the shadowed eyes, the tightened jaw, the growing detachment. He offered support, a quiet presence that eventually allowed Ari to confide in him, to articulate the crushing emotional toll, the immense burden of command, the loneliness of carrying such terrible knowledge. He spoke of the constant internal battle, the struggle to justify the unthinkable in the name of a greater good. The new Hamas leader, emboldened by Ari's perceived weakening, began to execute his plan to draw him out. A trap was meticulously laid, a chillingly precise scheme using his family as bait. The protagonist discovered the threat not through official channels, but through a chilling, personal message left for him, a stark reminder of his enemy's proximity. His immediate reaction was a cold wave of fear, quickly followed by a surge of incandescent rage, a primal instinct to protect what was his. The internal conflict raged within him, tearing him apart. Could he truly protect his family while continuing this relentless fight? His wife, her voice trembling but firm, confronted him, her plea a desperate demand for him to leave the service, to choose them over the endless war. But Ari, fueled by a conviction that bordered on obsession, refused. He believed with every fiber of his being that he was the only one capable of stopping this new, escalating threat. In a desperate, misguided attempt to shield them, he pushed his family away, convinced that creating distance was the only way to keep them safe from the encroaching darkness. The new leader's taunts grew bolder, more direct, challenging him personally, mocking his past actions, twisting his triumphs into failures. Ari's isolation deepened, the weight of his decisions pressing down on him until he felt utterly alone, adrift in a sea of responsibility and regret. There was a moment of profound weakness, a fleeting instant where he almost gave up, consumed by a despair that threatened to swallow him whole. But then, a flicker, the memory of the victims of the engineer's bombs, the innocent lives extinguished. The suffering he had witnessed reignited his purpose. It was a stark reminder of why he fought, a visceral connection to the cause that transcended personal pain. He chose to confront the new threat, to face the darkness head-on, even if it cost him everything he held dear. It was the ultimate sacrifice, putting his life on the line for a cause he believed in, a fight that had become inextricably linked to his very identity. The new leader's final, provocative message arrived, a chilling countdown to another major attack, a direct challenge that Ari would not ignore. The game had begun anew, and this time the stakes were higher than ever. The protagonist, now fully committed, his despair transmuted into an unyielding resolve, devised a daring plan to neutralize the new Hamas leader. He meticulously reviewed every lesson learned from the engineer's operation, but this time, his strategy was different, more refined, born from the crucible of personal loss and renewed purpose. The new plan involved an unprecedented level of personal risk, placing him directly in harm's way, a calculated gamble he was willing to take. His team, though expressing deep concern for his safety, respected his unwavering determination, recognizing the fire that now burned in his eyes. The final confrontation unfolded with a terrifying precision, a high-stakes operation designed to stop the new leader and prevent the impending attack. Ari faced his own demons throughout the mission, each step a battle against the gnawing doubts and the ghosts of his past. There was a fleeting moment of hesitation, a whisper of fear, but it was quickly overcome by his ingrained discipline and his unwavering resolve. The new leader, blinded by his own hubris and thirst for revenge, was outsmarted, caught in a trap of his own making, a mirror image of the engineer's downfall. The planned attack was thwarted, countless innocent lives saved from a fate Ari knew all too well. Though victorious, Ari was deeply changed by the experience. The triumphs and tragedies had carved new lines upon his soul, leaving an indelible mark. In the aftermath, the region breathed a collective sigh of relief, a brief respite from the constant threat, yet the peace remained fragile. A delicate balance easily disrupted. He sought a quiet, emotional reunion with his family, a tentative reconciliation built on unspoken understanding, and a shared hope for a future less shadowed by conflict. The distance he had created, though intended for protection, had wounded them all, and now he sought to mend those fractured bonds. He decided to step back from active field duty, the front lines of the silent war, seeking a different path within Mossad. His experience, his hard-won wisdom, was too valuable to be lost. He began mentoring new recruits, his voice calm but authoritative, sharing the brutal truths of their work, emphasizing the profound human cost of every decision, every operation. His legacy was not just that of a skilled operative who had neutralized a significant threat, but as a man who understood the complex, often gray areas of warfare, who carried the burden of its moral ambiguities with integrity. The ongoing struggle against terrorism continued, an endless fight that never truly ended, merely shifted its form. Yet, Ari found a measure of peace, a quiet satisfaction in knowing he had made a difference, that his personal sacrifices had not been in vain. He would often find himself gazing out at the horizon, a seasoned veteran carrying the heavy weight of his past, but now looking towards a hopeful future, one he had fought to preserve. The subtle implication remained: the threat would inevitably return, but so too would those who stood ready to protect, to fight the unseen battles. The lasting impact of the cell phone operation was undeniable. It had fundamentally changed the face of intelligence gathering, ushering in a new era of digital warfare. His final thought, a silent mantra he carried, was that the price of freedom was eternal vigilance, a relentless watch against the encroaching darkness, and sometimes the ultimate personal sacrifice. He knew this truth in his bones, a truth etched by fire and loss, a truth that would guide him in his new role, ensuring that the lessons learned from the engineer's demise would never be forgotten. The world was a safer place for now, because of the silent warriors like him.